Rain drummed lightly against the classroom windows, the steady rhythm filling the silence as Matthews scribbled notes faster than the teacher could speak. His glasses slid down his nose, catching the fluorescent glow as he pushed them up again with a trembling finger. The others in class barely noticed him. They never did. To them, he was just the quiet kid with perfect grades and zero presence. Until the door banged open. Mason Knight swaggered in, late as usual, tossing his wet hoodie over his shoulder. The room seemed to change temperature when he entered, part tension, part chaos. Mason wasn't just tall, he commanded space. Broad shoulders, dark hair in careless waves, a smirk that could unnerve even the teachers. He took the empty seat behind Matthews, slouched back, and kicked his boots against the leg of Matthews' chair. That small thud sent a ripple through the quiet boy's chest. He pretended not to care, but his hand's shake betrayed him. "Hey, nerd," Mason muttered under his breath, voice deep and low. "You always take notes like your life depends on it?" Matthews froze. His throat went dry. 100 answers flashed in his head, but he managed only a faint, "I like to keep up." Mason leaned forward until his breath brushed the back of Matthews' neck. "Cute." The word hit him harder than he expected. He didn't know if it was sarcasm or something else, some strange tone buried beneath the usual teasing edge. When Matthews finally dared to turn slightly, Mason was already looking elsewhere, eyes on the rain outside, jaw tight. That was the first time Matthews noticed it, that flicker of something behind Mason's anger. Loneliness, maybe, or guilt. Whatever it was, it drew him in like gravity. The bell rang, and students rushed out. Matthews stayed back, collecting his books carefully, but a paper fluttered out of his notebook, landing at Mason's boots. Mason picked it up before Matthews could. It wasn't just notes. It was a sketch. Someone with messy hair and ice-blue eyes. Mason looked at the drawing, then at him. "Interesting," Mason said, voice unreadable. "Didn't know you were into portraits." Matthews' face burned, but as Mason handed it back, his fingers brushed Matthews for half a second, long enough to make his pulse race and his world tilt. Later that afternoon, the school halls buzzed with the usual chaos, a mix of laughter, loud conversations, and slamming lockers. Matthews kept his head down, clutching his books like armor. His mind raced back to Mason's touch, the unexpected warmth that lingered even after their fingers parted. He wondered if Mason felt it too. But the image of Mason's icy blue eyes, clouded with something softer, kept confusing him. How could someone so confident and feared by everyone else seem so vulnerable when no one was looking? Matthews ducked into the library, the quiet sanctuary where he usually hid from the noise of the world. He found a secluded corner and pulled out his sketchpad, flipping to a blank page. Without fully realizing it, his pencil began to move, sketching that same restless figure, tall and strong, with messy dark hair and piercing eyes. A far cry from the school bully everyone whispered about. Suddenly, a shadow fell over the desk. Matthews looked up, heart hammering again. "It's pretty good," Mason said, voice low and cautious. Matthews blinked, caught mid-sketch. "Oh, thanks." He closed the sketchpad quickly, feeling exposed. Mason pulled up a chair, sitting across from him. "You see me like that? Not just the bully?" Matthews hesitated, then nodded. "There's more to you. I can tell." Mason's eyes flickered. "Like what?" "Like someone who's scared." The words slipped out before he could stop them. A hard laugh escaped Mason. "No one's scared around here. You think Connor and the others would let me be?" Connor. The name felt like a weight in the room. Mason's supposed best friend, the one everyone feared even more. "They don't see what I see," Matthews murmured. Mason's expression softened, but the armor didn't disappear entirely. "Maybe you're the only one who does." The library quiet wrapped around them, a fragile bubble between two worlds. It was a beginning, fragile, uncertain, but real. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the other side of the shelves. Both boys jumped. Mason gave a half smile. "Looks like trouble never leaves me alone." And maybe, Matthews thought, that was exactly why they were meant to find each other. By the time the weekend rolled around, Matthews couldn't erase Mason from his thoughts. Every laugh, every glance from school haunted him with a new ache he didn't expect. How could he feel so exposed and alive all at once? On Saturday morning, Matthews found himself walking past the basketball court where Mason often practiced. To his surprise, Mason was there alone, shooting hoops under the pale sun. The notorious bully looked less like a menace and more like a man fighting battles no one could see. Matthews hesitated, but then found himself stepping closer. "Hey," he said quietly. Mason stopped mid-shot, wiping sweat from his brow, and glanced at him. "What do you want, nerd?" Matthews swallowed the lump in his throat. "I wanted to talk." Mason smirked, but there was no malice this time. "Since when?" "Since the moment their fingers touched. Since the sketch. Since the flicker of something real behind his ice-blue eyes." "I know you're scared," Matthews said, stepping closer. "Not just of Connor or what others think. There's more." Mason's face darkened. "You think you know me?" "No," Matthews admitted softly. "But I want to. I want to know the real Mason Knight." For a split second, Mason's tough mask cracked. "You're crazy." Maybe. But Matthews felt a fierce need to break through that armor. They started walking side by side, awkwardly at first. Mason threw out jokes, sharp, but without the usual bite. Matthews responded with shy smiles. "Why do you mess with me?" Matthews finally asked. Mason shrugged, eyes downcast. "Because it's easier than facing everything. Inside. People expect me to be a bully, to be tough." "And what do you want?" Matthews asked, heart pounding. "To be someone who isn't afraid," Mason whispered. Matthews looked at him, seeing beyond the bully to a boy who desperately wanted to be free. Their conversation was interrupted by a shout from the bleachers. Connor, tall and fierce, glaring at them both. "Back off, Mason!" Connor called out, voice cold. "You know what happens if you don't." Mason's jaw clenched, but this time he didn't pull away from Matthews. The battle lines were drawn, not just between friends, but between who Mason wanted to be and who he had to pretend to be. And Matthews knew their story had only just begun. Monday morning felt heavier than usual. Matthews' heart pounded as he pushed through the crowded hallways, every glance from a passing classmate feeling like 1,000 questions he didn't want to answer. He kept replaying the confrontation with Connor in his mind, the cold warning lingering like ice in his veins. In gym class, Mason was already there, stretching by the lockers, his usual confident posture slightly less rigid. When their eyes met, there was an unspoken truce, a fragile connection that neither wanted to expose in front of others. Coach called out, "Pair up for drills!" As fate would have it, Mason's partner was Matthews. The buzz of whispers around them was deafening, students watching the unlikely duo like it was a spectacle. Mason caught Matthews' nervous glance and smirked. Ready to get humiliated? Matthews forced a smile, but felt warmth under the teasing. The drills started, and somehow, as their bodies moved in sync, Mason's strength and Matthews' quick reflexes, the noise around them faded. When Mason's hand brushed Matthews' arm accidentally, they both froze, eyes locking in a silent exchange charged with emotion. Later they found themselves alone by the bleachers, away from prying eyes.
"I don't know if I can keep doing this," Mason admitted, voice low, "pretending I'm this tough guy all the time." Matthews nodded, stepping closer. "I see you, for who you really are." Mason's defenses cracked further. "Connor, he's like a shadow I can't escape. He expects me to be his version of strong. But sometimes I wish I could just be me." "That's what I want for you," Matthews said softly. "For us." Mason's usually sharp eyes softened. "You really feel that way?" Matthews's heart soared. "Yes, more than I ever thought possible." They shared a hesitant smile, the kind that spoke of promises and unspoken fears. But the world outside wasn't quiet. A group of students passed by, snickering. "Look who's hanging Out with Mason Knight. Matthews felt the weight of their stares, the risk they were taking growing heavier. Mason's hand found his, gripping tightly. We don't have to hide forever. And in that moment, beneath the weight of judgment and the fear of exposure, a fragile hope blossomed, one that dared to believe love could break even the hardest walls.
The days that followed were tense but brimming with quiet determination. Mason and Matthews moved through the storm of high school whispers and pointed stares, hand in hand, when no one was watching, finding stolen moments of peace amid the chaos. Every time Connor's shadow loomed, Mason held tighter to Matthews, as if his grip alone could keep the fear at bay. One afternoon, while the sun dipped low and the school emptied, they found themselves again under the bleachers, their secret refuge. "Why do you stay with me?" Mason asked, voice raw with vulnerability. Matthews smiled softly. "Because I see you, not the mask, not the bully, the real you. And if they find out..." Mason's eyes darted with uncertainty. Matthew's heart ached, but his voice was firm. "Then let them. We can't live hiding forever. Our love is stronger than their labels." A shaky breath escaped Mason's lips. "You make me believe that someday I could be free." Matthew's hand brushed Mason's cheek, tracing the lines of doubt away. "You already are, when you're with me." The weeks that followed tested their courage. Mason stood up to Connor one day after school, refusing to let his friend dictate who he should be. The bullying didn't end overnight, but Mason no longer faced it alone. Matthews, once the shy nerd, discovered a fierce strength within himself. Love had awoken parts of him he never knew existed. Their story wasn't perfect, but it was theirs, a testament to bravery, vulnerability, and the messy beauty of first love. On a warm spring evening, as cherry blossoms drifted through the air like whispered promises, Mason and Matthews stood outside the school, hands entwined, ready to face whatever came next. "Love isn't about who you're supposed to be," Mason said quietly. "It's about who you choose to be," Matthews replied. Together, they chose to be brave. Together, they chose love. And for the first time, they felt truly unstoppable.